Everybody, and welcome back. Today on Tenza Motorsports, I'm going to be tearing down a whole bunch of this engine. As you can tell here, it's quite wide sitting on the engine stand, and what that means for me is that there's a bunch of stuff hanging off this engine that not only does it need to be on here, but that we don't need ever anymore. So I can get rid of a bunch of this stuff, and it'll make it smaller in my garage. Before we get started, make sure you are subscribed to the channel, like and enjoy this type of content. Also, make sure to follow us on Instagram, Tenza_Motorsports, where we do giveaways. We also show a lot of reels and teaser photos of upcoming projects. This right here has some parts on it that I can either recycle and make some money, or I can resell. This has the metal valve cover, which means that as a kit, I could sell this as a kit. I'm gonna pull the coil packs out and the wire harness for that, and then obviously the valve cover itself, and I should be able to hopefully find somebody who's looking to upgrade to a metal one. AC pump, garbage. Radiator hoses, all garbage. I'm just going to chuck them all. Fan, it's got a broken blade, so I'll get rid of that. Headers, I can actually recycle those. My work on occasion gets rid of them and gets a little bit of money for them. Intake manifold. Now the intake manifold is actually supposedly the 3-liter intake manifold, but we're not going to be going to that. So I'll be pulling this off. I'll probably hold on to the intake manifold, but everything else around it will be gone. I'll hold on to the starter, power steering. I'll hold on to the cooler line, and I will hold on to the pump. I think the pump is slightly different than ours. I know that they changed them, and basically the lines are slightly different, or the pump, the hookup, somewhere it's slightly different. So I'm going to hold on to the pump and the cooler. Everything else will be gone. This part right here is destroyed, so we'll be getting rid of that. I'll hold on to the ICV, look at the condition on that, and yeah. I think I'm going to probably hold on to the fuel rail. There's a bunch on this that's slightly different. The O2 sensors, I don't know how much of that I can use. But yeah, so it's just going to be a time lapse of me pulling this apart, hopefully making a little bit of money on some of this stuff. If you're local to me, then if you need a metal valve cover or something like that, then I don't know. I hate throwing it away when it's still good. So like this valve cover, there's nothing wrong with it. It just could use a little bit of cleaning and it's good to go. But I also don't want to be that guy that just holds on to stuff forever and I never use it. And it just sits and sits for years and years and years, and then it ends up being garbage anyways, and all I did was store garbage for 10 years. I don't know. A lot of this will be gone, but I'll hold on to the parts I think I could potentially use or that somebody else could use. So yeah, let's get into it. I'm gonna start by taking off that clutch fan. I don't have the tools for it, so it might get cut up to get removed, but definitely want to get that off. I want to go over the condition of this engine just a little bit. If I remember right, I think this had like 220 on it or something like that. I'll have the real number right here. I'll have to look back. I didn't really pay that much attention. This was the engine out of the S54 wagon that we built. So this is the engine, this is the M56 that we ended up pulling out and then put in the S54. And I didn't really care too much about the mileage on the wagon because we were moving front and rear subframes and drive shafts and replacing bushings and control arms. There was so much of it being replaced that the body itself didn't really matter. So I just kind of didn't really bother with even checking the engine. I do want to show real quick that if you look on this side, I have no idea if they've got a valve cover gasket done, but you can see that there's no major leaks, if any. The front here, I can see that somebody's been into the housing, thermostat housing at some point, because I don't think that's original. Correct me if I'm wrong. And then again, same thing here. It's a metal water pump. I don't think that's original either. Correct me if I'm wrong. But I think somebody's been in there and at least done that. The thermostat itself looked to be pretty good. The other thing is that the tensioners, I don't think any of the tensioners had ever been done. This is a hydraulic tensioner. Most people don't keep this. They'll just go to the mechanical ones. And then I noticed that the tensioner that came off of the other side, the AC pump tensioner, that one was super weak. And just based on the way this looks, a lot of this is still original. And to me, that's pretty crazy that you can have a car with this many mileage, this old, and some of these components are still original. I think the power steering pump pulley looked fairly original. It's kind of crazy that some of these components can last that long. A lot of people give BMWs crap, oh, this broke and this breaks. Problem is they go, oh, well, you know, this is holding up really well, but then they don't replace things like that reservoir right there. Well, it's not leaking, well, but it's your filter as well. And so this is good and bad. It's good that the engines can handle this, but it's bad because some of this probably should have been replaced. I just realized as I was pulling out this camera that my GoPro that was set up over there wasn't recording, so I don't know how much it missed. I know it was recording for a while, and I just kind of wanted to point out some other things that was going on with this engine. Pretty standard stuff here. These hoses that run underneath the intake, they tend to go bad, and this one right here looks like it had been leaking, so it's pretty wet right here. The other thing it could be is this oil filter housing gasket, which tend to go bad. I'm not seeing much evidence of that. It's more like a wet, not oily, so I think that it just had a coolant leak, and so that's coming from right here. So just in back behind there, you can actually see part of the hose that's stuck in there. And then the other one is just there in the shadows. It's right up back behind there. Those both have tendency to crack and fall apart. Valve cover, I don't think the valve cover's ever been off on this car. You can tell here by the gasket, that's supposed to be like a soft rubber, and it basically turns into plastic. Top of the engine doesn't look super great. Vanos up here in the front is really dark, especially there on camera. I'll grab my light, we'll go over to the valve cover itself, show off what that looks like. Yep, that's all pretty dark. So this side here, the right hand side, is always going to be slightly dirtier because there's that cam cover on this side, but yeah, your engine should be cleaner than that. And there is a sheared bolt, which is nice to have out of there, so I'll have to extract that. Overall, pretty standard stuff. I'm not surprised by anything. I am a little bit impressed, actually, that the engine is as dry as it is for as little maintenance has been done. I seriously doubt that those hoses underneath there have ever been touched. Valve cover gaskets never been done. Tensioners have never been done. Pulleys are all probably pretty original. The only thing that I saw that had been done is a couple coolant hoses, thermostat, and pump, which is probably because the engine forced them to do that. It probably actually went bad on them. Yeah, all this was done in about an hour and a half. So I feel pretty good about it. Lots of parts. I'm going to go through these, see what I want to hold on to, see what I can get rid of. Engine harness over there, I'll probably hold on to that for a little bit. I've had plenty of people ask me if I've got engine harnesses or parts to those, so I'll probably hold on to a lot of that. So anyways, I really appreciate everybody so much for watching. Stay tuned. This will get torn down even more. I just don't want to dig into the block tonight, but we are going all the way down to the block, removing the crank and the pistons, because I won't need any of that. I'll be using some 3-liter stuff, and I'm just using the block from this, so everything's got to come off. Overall, pretty decent engine. I feel like if somebody was doing, needed one of these engines, this would have probably been a good one. It just needed some maintenance here and there, and it's going to go into a race car, which is much more fun. So thanks again. I will see everybody in the next video.
Bam!